Do you want to see part of the old process? Come and take a walk with me. This was the original. Let me put this in tripod. This was the original bread machine that I've been roasting on for about 5 years. The heating chambers are about in the 440s. It's a shade hot, but it'll be fine. As you may have read in the story, this was the original roasting machine that I made from a rewired bread machine. I've been using this for 5 years. And I've learned a lot as well. The heating chamber is about 400 degrees. The beans themselves are about 126. In part, roasting is done to temperature. Not so much to time, although I always start the timer because I almost burned the house down twice previously. It's got a loud beep to it. Roasting is done in part by temperature, partly by time, and partly by sound, and partly by smell. We'll stop this process in a bit and come back to it at the tail end. You'll see far more smoke coming out of here. There's a process about partway through called first crack. That's where the beans first begin to dry out. You can hear that, and that's one of the benchmarks for roasters. Beyond there, at about 385 degrees, we're at 185, so we're probably 10 minutes away. The beans go exothermic, which is to say they begin to give off their own heat in the reaction. At that point, I've discovered the hard way, beans, the process goes very fast and can get away from you and has in times past. At first crack, I've come to discover that I'll increase the heat of this from low speed to high for a few seconds because first crack draws heat as well. So in the end, in about probably 10 minutes, we'll have some good coffee. I'm going to roast this to about, maybe 420 degrees, which would be what's called city roast. That's most of them. We're at 230 degrees so far. I'll stop this and we'll come back at the tail end. Okay, it's been probably about 10 minutes later. We're at about 400 degrees. Roasting chamber, probably around 440, pretty close to ideal. 400. I didn't hear first crack, but I see the rise of temperature beginning to slow down. So that tells me first cracks happen. I'm going to increase the speed gun to high, the heat gun to high, for a couple of minutes just to introduce some new heat into here. That'll take it past first crack. You can see that there's chaff already beginning to and back to medium heat. And there we go, and now I hear first crack. You may not be able to hear it. It sounds a little bit like popcorn popping. 421 or so is about when I'll take that off, so it won't be too much longer than this. And we're at about 12 minutes into it, which is a little bit longer than I would have liked, but we'll stop this for now so we don't have to listen to the beep. 418, pretty close. I'm going to get ready. .426 and we're done. It goes that fast. Now, I don't know that I'm going to be able to show this, but important to cool it quickly because it's adding its own temperature. This is my method. This will take a few minutes at this process, so I'll probably come back and edit this video. This cools the beans, and it also gives a little bit of an opportunity for the chaff to exit out of the system, as you may see, which doesn't come automatically in the system as I've configured it. The more professionally done one will give that opportunity. It's actually kind of zen. I enjoy this process. There have been times when I've not gotten all the chaff out, and in the end it gives less coffee for the puff in the coffee maker. So better to get out as much as possible. I'll take this inside and finish it in the air conditioning. The beans are still pretty hot, so they still need to be cooled down. I like to finish it in here because it's air conditioned and it will cool them the rest of the way pretty quickly. The key, however, is just to get it below the 385 and beyond there. Coffee beans do what they call coast for a while, so if you don't cool them down, they'll actually roast for longer than you would have desired. Each of the different roasts have their own distinctive color and look of the beans. How much of the structure of the beans have cracked, and there's a process maybe about 10 degrees or so more beyond here called second crack, and that's where the structure actually begins to break down as well. When these get cool enough that I'm confident that they're not self-baking for a period longer, then I'll stop the process. Meanwhile, thanks for sharing with me what was the original, for a full 5 years, process of how I made coffee and make coffee with that bread machine. Again, with that Rube Goldberg setup, when I surpassed the local store in the taste of their coffee, I knew I was onto something, and that's what encouraged me to look to the more professionally roasting machines. One of the other things I enjoy to do at this point is to taste one. It's called dry cupping. The longer you go in the roast process, the more you get away from the initial origin taste of the bean and more into the roast flavor of the bean. There's a time and a place where you want that. But it's always a trade-off to decide exactly how much you want to do and where you want to go with the flavors of that. This particular one, in that process, chewing the beans, called dry cupping, went a little bit beyond where I would have liked it to go. But, so the origin flavor, these were Ethiopian beans. The origin flavor is somewhat gone, and the roast flavor is pretty prominent. But I'll enjoy that, so I don't mind. If you don't hit the target, the goal is whether you enjoy the coffee, and I have every expectation of that. Thanks for watching this process.